My boyfriend of 7 years doesn't want to marry me because he thinks I'm using him as a visa mule. Posted by you/HeyCry. I, 29F, moved to the US 7 years ago as a grad school student from Indonesia. I met my boyfriend, 30M, a few months after I moved, and we've been together ever since. My boyfriend is a US citizen. After I graduated, we had a serious discussion about where our relationship was headed. I made it very clear that I wanted to eventually get married and have children. My boyfriend echoed those sentiments. I remember asking him if he saw that happening with me because I didn't want to be in a relationship with no future. He told me he loved me and that we were definitely headed in that direction. As of last week, we've been dating for 7 years. We've occasionally talked about marriage, but we were both busy with our respective careers, so the timing didn't seem quite right. However, recently, my company announced that there's a chance my department's work will be outsourced. I'm on an H-1B visa, temporary worker, so this means I need to start looking for a job ASAP if I want to continue staying in the US. Last week, during our anniversary, I brought this up. I asked him if he thought it was the right time to consider getting married, as that would also help with sorting out my visa issues. He looked like he was about to vomit. After much prodding, he confessed that he wasn't planning on us getting married until I was able to get a green card, permanent resident, in the US. I was incredibly confused because he had never mentioned this before. His reason was that he didn't want to be used as a visa mule, his words, not mine, and that he wanted to make sure I married him because I loved him, not because it was a ticket to staying in the US, which, according to him, could only be certain once I got a green card. It took me a while to process what he said, and I asked him if he'd be open to moving to Indonesia with me, which he wasn't. I did not react well and ended up leaving because I couldn't deal with what had just happened. I am still in disbelief. I started dating him because he was the kindest, most thoughtful, and most generous man I'd met. Now, I feel like I wasted 7 years. While the visa issues are certainly a problem, I did not date him with the intention of making him my safety net. I cannot believe that even after nearly a decade together, he doesn't know what kind of person I am. I feel like this relationship is possibly over, and it hurts. It hurts so much. Relevant comments. Commenter. He took the easy way out. 7 years already, and if he isn't ready to get married now, he never will be. Do you live together? He came out with a BS excuse. When you get your green card on your own, drop him so you can focus all your energy on getting a new job. I'm sorry this is happening to you, but he doesn't love you if there's a possibility of separating because of a work visa, and he's not interested in maintaining a relationship either in the US or in Indonesia. He refers to the act of marrying you as being a visa mule. What are you, mail order bride? You are an educated lady, a working professional who had the misfortune of wasting 7 years on a loser. Break up, and I hope everything gets better for you. Update 5 days later. A few days ago, I made a post about how my boyfriend of 7 years didn't want to marry me because I was an immigrant on an H-1B visa, and he didn't want to be a visa mule. I received a lot of wonderful comments and DMs, a few trolls too, but that's expected on Reddit, lol. Because the thread got locked and the post was subsequently removed, since I have a low karma account, I was unable to respond to anyone. I'm posting this update to do that, plus add some more details about what has transpired since. Addressing some of the points in the comments. I've been on an H-1B visa for a little more than 2 years now. Before that, I was on STEM OPT for about 3 years after grad school. I had terrible luck with the H-1B lottery and only got selected in the last round I was eligible to apply. Getting permanent residency, PR, in the US is not easy. I know people who have been here for 15+ years and are still waiting for their PR. For those of you who DM me calling me a gold digger, you guys made me laugh. I am aware of the legalities around sponsoring a spouse for PR, including the financial aspect. It shouldn't have been a problem for the following reasons. I'm a STEM major who recently transitioned into management. I work for a large company and do quite well for myself. My boyfriend is a teacher, and our incomes are not comparable. He earns around $60K, while I earn close to $300K. We've been living together for about 6 years. We have a shared account for expenses like rent and utilities, into which we both deposit a percentage of our salaries. The rest of our money goes into our own private accounts, and we don't manage each other's finances. Because I'm pretty frugal, I've saved a significant amount of money in the form of savings and investments. If my boyfriend was concerned about the financial responsibility of sponsoring me for 10+ years, I would have been happy to discuss ways to mitigate that risk. I was even considering buying a house, so we could have made it a joint ownership arrangement. All that to say, we could have figured it out. I have never relied on him financially, nor did I intend to in the future. I may not have considered every single factor, but you have to understand that I only started thinking about marriage for visa reasons very recently, when the threat of possibly having to leave became real. This wasn't something I had given detailed thought to before. Regarding my situation back home in Indonesia, I come from a very religious and conservative family and had a horrible childhood. My family does not support my career choices. I cut contact with them when I moved to the US, so they are not in the picture at all. I was on great terms with my boyfriend's family, they loved me. Now, for the actual update, he is now my ex-boyfriend. I took a few days to collect myself and then reached out to him, wanting to talk. He agreed. It turns out that he had been insecure about earning less than I did for a while. Apparently, his friends had been poking fun at our relationship, calling me the sugar mommy because I took care of most of the expenses. He never told me this until now. He apparently didn't feel like an equal because our pay differs so much and started feeling that I was only with him as a quick way to get a PR here. I was speechless. I couldn't believe that his friends gaslighted him into doubting our relationship. I reminded him how he had supported me when I was in grad school, like getting me groceries when I had little money to spare, allowing me to stay with him rent-free in my last year of grad school to help me minimize expenses so I wouldn't have to take out a loan, and letting me use his car when I was attending interviews. I told him that he did those things because he loved me, and me taking on the majority of household expenses, since I started working, is my way of paying him back for all the things he did for me back then. He said that he gets what I'm saying, but also that he didn't expect me to start earning more than him straight off the bat. I asked if there was any chance he'd consider going to couples therapy, like some of you had suggested, and he declined because he didn't think he was being unreasonable. He said that he wanted to be the provider in a relationship and that he didn't feel like one in ours, so there's no going back from this unless I quit my job and found another that paid substantially less, which isn't going to happen. Well, long story short, we broke up. His family is in disbelief, they were hoping that he would propose soon. I've moved into an Airbnb for now. To end on some good news, my company offered me a similar role in a different department. However, this is based out of France, and there's a small decrease in pay. I've always dreamed about living in Europe, and I've accepted this offer. I've signed the relocation agreement, and I'll move there in the next 8 to 12 weeks. Edit. A few comments. People picked apart my update to point out a discrepancy. I first said, I haven't relied on him financially ever, and later, I reminded him how he had supported me when I was in grad school, like getting me groceries when I had little money to spare, allowing me to stay with him rent-free in my last year of grad school to help me minimize expenses so I didn't have to take out a loan, and letting me use his car when I was attending interviews. I'm sorry for wording my feelings poorly and causing this confusion. I never asked or expected my ex to help me buy groceries or house me. I moved to the US to pursue a tech MBA from a top 20 school and had scholarships and student loans that were going to help me cover tuition and living expenses, so at no point did I need him to help me. I knew I was going to have a financially difficult time for 2 years, and I was prepared for this. My ex, however, did not like that I was eating cold sandwiches and instant ramen most of the time and would bring me some groceries, vegetables, frozen food, and the like, because he wanted to make sure I was eating well. He was also the one who proposed the idea of me moving in with him because he wanted us to live together and also thought it would lower my stress levels. He was an extremely kind, considerate, and generous man, and that was one of the reasons I fell in love with him. I am extremely grateful for his support, but I wasn't relying on it. Had he not done any of the above, I would have managed. Second update 1 year 4 months later. I'm back with an update after about a year of moving to France. I absolutely love it here. The language barrier is very real, but I'm taking classes, and the people around me have been incredibly helpful. I've spent the last year experiencing all the good things Europe has to offer. I've visited multiple cities in France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, Switzerland, Denmark, Germany, and Luxembourg. I cannot believe how gorgeous all of these places are, and the more time I spend here, the more I think about how fortunate I am to be able to experience this. I'm traveling to Italy soon, and I'm excited about everything. My work-life balance is also incredible. I was frequently putting in 10-12-hour workdays in the US, and I can count on one hand the number of times I've had to work more than 8 hours a day here. I love the emphasis on personal time, and I cannot fathom going back to the way it was before. I haven't had the courage to get back into dating yet. My experience with my ex has left a really bad taste in my mouth. Even though immigration here is a lot easier than in the US and is not really one of my worries, the thought of things falling apart after putting in a significant amount of time and effort scares me. I'm considering therapy, but I haven't quite made the leap yet. My ex reached out to me a few months after I moved. He faced a lot of backlash from his family after we broke up, and he wanted to discuss reconciliation because he realized the error of his ways. I told him exactly how he made me feel and that I could no longer trust him. I had decided to move on and advised him to do the same. He's had to downgrade his lifestyle since he could no longer afford to live the same way we did, and I could tell that it made him unhappy. Not going to lie, I did feel a pang of guilt and sadness after our conversation. But it is what it is. I got a bunch of DMs asking me about what I do. I have an undergrad degree in computer science, and after a year of working, I decided to pursue an MBA. I was fortunate enough to get into one of the top 20B schools with a scholarship that reduced my tuition by about 30%. I got into tech consulting initially and then switched to product management after a couple of years. Third update 1 year 7 months later. This account was a throwaway, and I had forgotten the login. But today, I found a Chrome profile on my old laptop that was logged into this account. My previous posts have been removed, and I have a lot of messages asking for updates. I'm creating this post to consolidate the original post and 2 updates, as well as provide a final update. I now live in the Netherlands. I switched to another company last year. It's cold and wet most of the year, but this summer was glorious, and at times, hot enough to remind me of home. I went through therapy for a few months. I must admit that I was not fully committed to it, but talking and venting helped a lot. That, along with distance and time, has definitely helped me heal. It's a bit hard to make friends here. Most people seem to want to stick to their existing social circles. I have made a few friends through the expat community, but these friendships need more time and effort to become something worthwhile. I'm trying to date now. I signed up for a bunch of apps. Haven't really had a lot of success so far, but I'll keep putting myself out there. I still miss my ex sometimes, especially on days when I'm unwell because it reminds me of how he used to take care of me and make me congee. I miss being cared for. And no, I haven't reached out. That chapter is truly done. I got a cat. She's a very loud girl. I'll add a photo to my profile. Life is kinda good, I guess. I need more friends, lol. Anyway, signing off. Relevant comments. Commenter. Honestly, this is probably the most realistic outcome of everything. Op still misses her boyfriend sometimes, whom she dated for almost 7 years and struggles to fit into a new culture. I do hope she is able to find a friend group. I've heard from friends that it's really hard to do that in the Netherlands. Maybe there are hobby groups or clubs? Also, the grin on my face when I think about him having to downgrade his lifestyle, lol. I bet he misses being a kept man now. Commenter 2. I know, right? That dude is an idiot. He insulted their 7 years of dedication because she suggested a simpler visa process that included a legal joining he was supposedly aiming for anyway. Their joint family finances would have set any kids up for a great life. And instead, he's like, could you just be less of a successful individual so I can be the sole hero of our imaginary lower-income future family? Disgusted and flabbergasted over here.